Okay, so I also want to talk about the work plane. So this blue like square, that's called the work plane. And I can move the work plane around. I can put it on its side. I could put it in different directions so that it's easier to put objects on top of each other. So the keyboard shortcut to activate moving the work plane is W. And you'll notice that this kind of box floats around my arrow. So if I click on top of this pink box, my work plane has actually been moved up to the top of my pink box. So anytime I put in letters or shapes, it will be on top of that work plane, okay? So if I move the work plane to the side of my box and then put an E there, okay, it'll automatically be generated onto the side of my box there, okay? So keyboard shortcut for work plane is W. You can move it around. You can put it on all sides and shapes of objects. So I could put it on an angle there and then put the D, and I will have an angled D on my pyramid, okay? So powerful tool, work plane, moving around instead of trying to get it to snap to the top of things and rotate them. You can just move the work plane and it'll automatically rotate it for you. I just hit W and then clicked down at the bottom of the box. So there's also this option here under the drop down called text and numbers, and it's just text. If I drag that into there, it's going to upload text and then I can change it, right? So I can spell out my name, I could make it bigger, I could make it smaller, I could make it a whole, right? So I could essentially, if I'm thinking and working correctly, I could rotate it. I would want to move the work plane for this to make it easier, but I could kind of embed my text into my rectangle as a whole. Select both of them, group, ooh, and then it starts to kind of cut it out at the bottom. So interesting things going on there. Oops. Okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about is importing information from Illustrator, because you can start to build off of things from Illustrator, get a little bit more complex in sections. So I'm going to open up Illustrator really quick. So the cool thing is I can import my own unique text into TinkerCAD. I don't have to like be stuck with that sad typeface that they're using in TinkerCAD. So the only thing that I have to do is make sure that I spell it out correctly, and then I have to go to type, create outlines, so that my text is no longer editable and that is just a bunch of anchor points instead of actual text, right? So when I go to save this, I'm going to go to File, Save. Oops, let me show you Save As, since mine already saved it. I'm going to save it to my desktop or somewhere easy and give it a name that's recognizable. And then the important thing is that it's saved as a SVG file, not an Illustrator file. All right, all I have to do is hit Save. Okay, in this option dialog box, I don't have to change anything. I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm going to show you the difference between if I were to create outlines versus not to create outlines in Illustrator, just so you guys will know. So I'm going to open TinkerCAD back up. I'm going to go into Import, choose File, find where it is, so Shapes. Okay, center on, scale, whatever. Sometimes I just leave it and then edit it later. It's going to import it. Okay, so it has imported my text. So you guys will notice if you do not change it from editable text to outlines, it will just create a box because it can't read that editable text. So make sure you create that text in the outline mode, and it kind of automatically gives it a 3D effect. So I can kind of scale that down. I could also make it bigger or smaller with this white box in the center, right? I could make it really big 3D, I could make it really small 3D. Things like that. But the one thing that you do have to keep in mind is that when I import the SVG, like whatever I imported from my drawing will be grouped together. And I haven't found a way to ungroup them yet, so these are kind of together. So make sure in here, if I didn't want both of them, I just save the one and then import it so I can have just the Tinker, yeah. and not this box by itself. Okay, so this is the same with like extremely complex shapes, like in curves. If I bring them into here and I save them, I can import them in TinkerCAD. Okay, so there we go. Imported all my shapes. Already is starting to make them three-dimensional for me. So just keep in mind all of these shapes will be grouped together though. So if I just wanted this one shape, just create that one outline or that one complexity in Illustrator. But you can get really complex with these. And these are still the same. They could also become holes, right? So they could be used to carve away certain elements within TinkerCAD if you want them to be, okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to open Illustrator and give me like a short one phrase, like one word or two words in Illustrator, created it as an outline, and then import it into TinkerCAD. And then I'll show you guys how to wrap that text around an object. Okay?